The large meeting hall fell silent as the last human diplomat walked out. The massive doors closed with a sound that echoed through the room. No one moved. The alien representatives from across the galaxy sat frozen in their seats, some with mouths open, others with their many eyes blinking in confusion. Council Chairperson Zlukthar stood at the center podium, his blue skin turning a pale shade of gray. His forearms hung limp at his sides. He had not expected this. None of them had. They cannot just leave, he finally said, his voice shaking. The humans cannot walk away from the Galactic Council. It is not allowed. But they had. Ambassador Eric Morgan had listened to the Council's latest list of demands, had heard their dismissal of Earth's requests for equal treatment, and had simply stood up. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately, he had said. Then he and every human in the chamber had walked out. In the hallway outside, Eric moved quickly with his team following close behind. "Sir, are we really doing this?" asked Samantha Young, his second in command. "Leaving the council after 50 years. "We are," Eric said without slowing down. "The president's orders are clear. We've been patient long enough." Samantha nodded. "What about our people on council worlds? The trading posts? The research stations? Most will come home. You and a small team will stay behind to manage the transition. The rest of us leave on the Washington in 2 hours." Back in the council chamber, the panic was growing. The Thraxian representative, a tall insect-like being, was buzzing loudly. "Our supply chains rely on human transport networks. Who will run our shipping lanes? Who will maintain the quantum communication relays?" A reptilian vulture banker pounded his scaled fist on the table. "The banking system. Humans process 40% of galactic transactions. We never should have become so dependent on them." Zlukthar raised all 4 of his arms. "Silence. We must act quickly. Helar, open emergency channels to Earth immediately. We will speak directly to their leaders." The communications officer tried repeatedly, but shook his head. "All diplomatic channels are closed, Chairperson. They are not responding." On Earth, in the underground command center beneath New Geneva, General Linda Blackwell addressed the assembled military leaders. "Operation Silent Shield is now active," she said, looking at the serious faces around her. "The President has authorized full deployment of our hidden assets." "How long have we been preparing for this?" asked Colonel Steve Winters. 8 years, Linda replied. "Ever since the Council denied our petition for full membership for the 3rd time. We hoped we would never need it." Screens around the room lit up with status reports. Across the solar system, hidden military bases were powering up. Ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels or research stations revealed their true nature. On Mars, Jupiter's moons, and beyond, human forces prepared for whatever might come next. Back on the Washington, Ambassador Eric Morgan watched Earth grow larger on the view screen. He felt lighter than he had in years. "Ambassador, we're receiving urgent messages from 12 council species," said the communications officer. "They're begging us to reconsider." "No response for now," Eric said. "Let them worry for a while. Let them finally understand what they've done." As the ship approached Earth, Eric thought about the coming days. The Council had never taken humans seriously. They had treated Earth as a useful but minor addition to their ancient alliance. They had never bothered to truly understand humanity's reach, innovation, or determination. Now they would learn. In his private chambers on the Council homeworld, Zlukthar reviewed reports with growing horror. Human ships were quietly departing from all major trading hubs. Human engineers were leaving their posts at critical infrastructure facilities. The galactic economy was already showing signs of stress. "How did we not see this coming?" he whispered to himself. "How did we miss how essential they had become?" But it was too late. The humans had walked out, and the Council was only beginning to understand what that truly meant. 3 months passed since the humans walked out. The Council worlds were changing, and not for the better. Captain Nathan Wright stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the stars. His ship floated silently at the edge of what used to be friendly space. Now they kept their distance and observed. "Captain, we're picking up another distress signal," said Officer Lisa Kelly. "That's the 5th one today." Nathan walked to her station and looked at the screen. "Where is it coming from?" "Thraxian Colony World, Velos Prime. They're reporting critical shortages of medical supplies and fuel cells." Nathan nodded. "Log it with the others. Forward the information to Admiral Pierce." The Thraxians had been among the loudest voices against human interests in the Council. Now their worlds were suffering the most. The irony wasn't lost on Nathan, but he took no joy in it. In her office on Luna Station, Admiral Catherine Pierce reviewed the latest reports. The situation throughout Council space was deteriorating faster than expected. Supply chains that humans had quietly managed for decades were breaking down. Technologies that relied on human maintenance were failing. Her aide entered with fresh data. "Admiral, the Volturi banking system collapsed this morning. Their currency has lost 60% of its value." Catherine sighed. "And they're blaming us, I assume." "Yes, Mom. They're claiming we sabotaged their networks before leaving." "We didn't have to," Catherine said. "We just stopped fixing their mistakes." She looked out her window at the blue Earth hanging in space. The President would be expecting her recommendation soon. Should humanity respond to these distress calls, or let the Council learn its lesson the hard way? On the distant world of Centauri Beta, Daniel Carter moved through the crowded alien marketplace. He looked like any other human trader, but his real job was much more important. He worked for Earth Intelligence, gathering information about how Council worlds were coping with the human departure. The shipment never arrived. A furry Morax trader was telling his customer, "Nothing from Earth has arrived in weeks. I can't get replacement parts for anything." Daniel pretended to examine some alien fruit while listening. "The Council told us not to worry," the customer said. "They said other species would fill the gaps." The trader made a barking laugh. "And where are they?" "My shop is empty. My ships don't work. No one else understands the human systems." Daniel moved on, recording everything. Similar conversations were happening everywhere. Council species had relied on humans for so long, they'd forgotten how to function without them. Back on Earth, the United Earth Defense Force conducted its largest exercise ever. General Linda Blackwell watched as the new ships demonstrated their capabilities. These vessels had been built in secret, using technologies the Council had never seen. "Impressive," said President Frank Miller, standing beside her. "We've been holding back for decades, Mr. President," Linda said, "following Council restrictions that were designed to keep us dependent and weak. And now we're free to develop at our own pace. The advancements we've made in just these 3 months are remarkable." In the Council chamber, the mood was grim. Nearly half the seats were empty, as many representatives had returned to their struggling homeworlds. Zlukthar looked older, his blue skin now pale and wrinkled. "The Thraxian colonies are on the brink of famine," he announced. "The Volturi banking system has collapsed. The quantum communication network is operating at 30% capacity." He paused, looking at the worried faces around him. "We must face the truth. We need the humans far more than they need us." Hilar, the diplomatic officer, stepped forward. "I have prepared a new proposal for Earth. We offer them a permanent seat on the High Council, with veto power." Murmurs filled the room. Such a thing had never been done before. "Will they even listen to us now?" someone asked. Zlukthar had no answer. For too long, the Council had seen humans as useful tools rather than equal partners. Now those tools were gone, and the mighty Galactic Council was beginning to crumble. In orbit around Mars, Ambassador Eric Morgan received the Council's message. He read it once, then again, and smiled. 3 months, he said to himself. It only took 3 months for them to start begging. But whether Earth would listen was another question entirely. The shuttle from the Council landed on Luna Station with little fanfare. Inside was Council Representative Hilar, a slender alien with pale green skin and large eyes. He looked nervous as he stepped onto human territory for the first time since the walkout. Ambassador Laura Bennett waited in the simple meeting room. She had been chosen to receive the Council's messenger because of her calm demeanor. Earth's leaders wanted someone who would show neither excitement nor anger. Ambassador Bennett, Giller said with a small bow. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Laura nodded coolly. The President was curious about your proposal. Please, have a seat. Giller sat down, his long fingers tapping nervously on the table. I bring an unprecedented offer from the Galactic Council. Humans would be granted a permanent seat on the High Council, with full veto powers over all decisions. Laura's face showed nothing. I see. This is most unusual, Giller continued quickly. In the Council's 12,000-year history, no species has ever been elevated so quickly. And yet you denied our applications 3 times in the past 50 years, Laura said. Giller looked down. There were concerns about human unpredictability. Those concerns have been reconsidered. Laura took the digital tablet he offered and scanned the proposal. I will forward this to Earth government. I can make no promises about their response. In the underground research facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Alan Wilson led President Frank Miller through a series of secure rooms. You're saying we don't need their transportation network at all? The President asked. Alan smiled. Mr. President, we haven't needed it for years. We just couldn't say so while under Council oversight. They stopped in front of a large window. Below, engineers worked on a spherical device about the size of a car. This is the Shaw Drive, Alan explained. It creates a localized fold in space. Travel time between any 2 points in the galaxy, approximately 3 days. The President's eyes widened. The Council told us fast travel was impossible. They lied. Or maybe they really don't know. Either way, we figured it out 10 years ago. And it works. Alan nodded. We've been secretly installing them in Earth ships for years. That's how we extracted our people from Council worlds so quickly after the walkout. The President shook his head in wonder. What else have we been hiding? Back in Geneva, the World Council debated their response to the Galactic Council's offer. We should accept their offer, said the representative from Brazil. Being on the High Council would give us protection and influence. Protection, scoffed the representative from Kenya. We don't need their protection. Our defense systems are stronger than anything they have. The Canadian delegate stood up. The real question is, do we want to rejoin a corrupt system or build something better? Around the table, opinions were divided. Some wanted reconciliation. Others argued for complete independence. On a secure channel, the leader of the Nexu, a feline species from a distant star system, spoke secretly with Earth's diplomatic corps. My people have long been second-class citizens in the Council, the Nexu leader said. We would prefer an alliance with Earth directly. Similar messages had come from 6 other species in the past week. The Council was not just losing Earth, it was starting to lose everyone else too. In his private lab, Dr. Alan Wilson received an urgent message. His team had discovered something in the old Council records, something that had been hidden from humans. Sir, his assistant said, we found evidence that the Council deliberately kept certain technologies from us. They classified Earth as a high-potential threat species 5 years after first contact. Alan's face hardened. They feared us from the beginning. There's more, the assistant continued. They've been secretly monitoring our development, sabotaging certain research paths that might have led to faster advancement. Alan looked at the proof on the screen. The President needs to see this immediately. In orbit around Earth, a small Council spy ship watched and listened. Inside, the alien crew grew increasingly worried. The humans are advancing too quickly, the captain said. The Council needs to know. Should we inform them about the new propulsion system? Asked his second. The captain hesitated, then shook his head. No, they wouldn't believe us anyway. No one wants to admit that humans have surpassed us already. On Luna Station, Ambassador Laura Bennett finished reading the secret council records. She closed the file and looked up at the blue-green earth through her window. "They never intended to treat us as equals," she said quietly. "It was all a lie from the beginning." The decision about how to respond to the Council's offer had just become much clearer. A wave of panic spread across Council space as the Galactic Quantum Communication Network suddenly failed. Thousands of worlds went silent at once. It was as if half the galaxy had disappeared in an instant. On the Council homeworld, technicians worked frantically to restore the system. "What happened?" Zluk-Thar demanded, his forearms waving in agitation. The head technician looked up with exhaustion in his eyes. "The maintenance protocols failed. The system was designed by humans, maintained by humans. We don't fully understand how it works. But you assured me you could replace the human engineers." The technician lowered his head. "We were wrong." At the edge of Council space, a fleet of Council enforcer ships approached the human colony world of New Eden. Their mission was to remind the colonists of their obligations to the Council. Commander Balktar stood proudly on the bridge of the lead ship. "The humans must learn their place," he told his officers. "Once we secure this colony, the others will fall in line." His confidence lasted until the fleet emerged from lightspeed. Instead of finding a vulnerable colony, they faced an array of defense platforms that hadn't been there 3 months ago. Before they could react, a voice came through on their communication system. "Council vessels, this is New Eden Defense. You are entering sovereign human space without permission. Reverse course immediately." Balktar laughed. "They think they can threaten the Council fleet. Open fire." His weapons officer pressed the firing controls. Nothing happened. "Our weapons systems are offline," the officer reported with confusion. All ships reporting the same issue. On the view screen, small human vessels emerged from behind the defense platforms. "This is your final warning," the human voice said. "Leave now." For the first time, Commander Balktar felt real fear. On Mars Colony, Governor Michelle Adams received a classified report in her secure office. She read it twice, her eyes growing wider. "Is this confirmed?" she asked the intelligence officer standing before her. "Yes, Governor. We verified it from multiple sources." The report detailed human infrastructure that had been secretly built throughout unexplored regions of the galaxy over the past decade. Research stations, mining facilities, and even small colonies, all established far from Council oversight. "How did we keep this hidden for so long?" Michelle asked. "The Council never bothered to look," the officer replied. "They were so certain of their superiority that they never imagined we would operate beyond their knowledge." Michelle studied the star map showing the extent of human presence. "We're much stronger than they realized. Than even we realized." On Earth, President Frank Miller addressed an emergency session of the World Council. "The Council has sent enforcer fleets to 3 of our colony worlds," he announced. "All have been turned away without bloodshed." Murmurs filled the chamber. "How did we defend ourselves so effectively?" asked the representative from Argentina. The president nodded to General Linda Blackwell, who stepped forward. "Operation Silent Shield included the deployment of advanced defense systems to all human worlds," she explained. "These systems can neutralize Council weapons without destroying their ships." "So we've been preparing for this conflict all along?" someone asked. "We've been preparing to protect ourselves," Linda corrected. "There's a difference." In the Council chamber, a special emergency session had been called. Representatives from the major species gathered to hear a report from the Science Ministry. "We have completed our assessment of human technological capabilities," the chief scientist said. His voice trembled slightly. "The results are disturbing." He projected a series of images showing human advancements in various fields. "Their progress in the last 50 years exceeds what most species achieve in 5 centuries. They have mastered technologies that we believed were theoretical at best, and they have done this while appearing to follow our restrictions." Zluk-Thar slumped in his chair. "How did we not see this?" "Because we chose not to," said the Volturi representative. We saw what we expected to see, a young, obedient species grateful for our guidance. A message alert sounded, and the communications officer's face went pale. Chairperson, we're receiving reports that human ships are appearing throughout Council space. Not in attack formation, but they're everywhere. Hundreds of them. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Humans weren't just participants in galactic society. They hadn't just been following Council rules all these years. They had been biding their time, building their strength, extending their reach. And now they were revealing just how powerful they had become. The Council had never truly known humanity at all. The meeting room on Proxima B was unlike any diplomatic chamber the Council had ever designed. Simple wooden tables formed a circle, with no seat higher than another. Every species had the same space, the same voice. Commander Jason Russell represented Earth at this historic gathering. Around him sat delegates from 12 non-Council species, races that had been denied membership or kept as associate members for centuries. The Draxians with their 4 arms and crystalline skin. The fog-like mist people of Tenebris. The small but brilliant kin whose mathematical minds had solved problems the Council declared impossible. Earth thanks you for coming, Jason said. We are here to discuss a new path forward. The Council has controlled galactic politics for too long, said the Draxian representative. They decide who trades with whom, which technologies can be shared, which species deserve respect. The kin delegate, barely 3 feet tall, stood on her chair. We watched how they treated humans. You achieved in decades what took others millennia. They feared you, just as they fear all of us who think differently. Jason nodded. That's why we're proposing the Concordat of Free Worlds. A new alliance based on equality and mutual benefit. Back on Earth, President Olivia Harrison studied the proposal from the non-Council species. Her advisors were divided. This is a historic opportunity, said the Secretary of State. These species have technologies and resources that complement our own. Together, we could build something better than the Council ever was. It's also risky, warned the Defense Minister. The Council still has the largest fleet in the galaxy. If they see this as a direct challenge. Olivia looked out the window at the busy Washington streets below. Citizens going about their lives, unaware of how the decisions made today would shape humanity's future among the stars. The Council is already in chaos, she said finally. They can barely manage their own affairs, let alone threaten us. We will proceed with the Concordat. On a remote planet far from Council space, a secret meeting was taking place. Council spies had infiltrated a human military facility. What they discovered left them in shock. Impossible, whispered the lead spy as they viewed the footage. There must be hundreds of ships. The hidden shipyard stretched for miles. Advanced warships, research vessels, and colony ships in various stages of construction filled the massive facility. And according to their intelligence, this was just one of many such yards scattered across supposedly empty systems. The Council believed humans had only a small defense fleet, said his partner. This changes everything. What's even more concerning is the technology. The lead spy replied. Look at those drive signatures. They're unlike anything in Council records. They transmitted their findings back to Council headquarters. The message was marked highest priority. In the Council chamber, the news hit like a thunderbolt. How could they have built all this without our knowledge? Demanded a representative. The intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. It appears they used shell companies and proxy organizations. They operated in regions we rarely patrol. And he hesitated. And what? Zlukthar asked. And they used our own arrogance against us. We simply didn't believe humans could advance so quickly, so we never looked too closely at their activities. Before anyone could respond, the Council's diplomatic officer rushed in. Chairperson, the Talgari and Nexu have officially withdrawn from the Council. Zlukthar slumped in his chair. Why? They've signed separate treaties with Earth. They're citing new opportunities for advancement, and respect as equals as their reasons. Murmurs of alarm spread through the chamber. The Talgeri and Nexu were founding members of the Council. Their departure was unthinkable. Across Council space, more species began to question their allegiance. The humans had walked out and not only survived but thrived. Perhaps the Council wasn't as essential as they had believed. On Proxima B, Jason Russell and the representatives of the non-Council species signed the preliminary agreement establishing the Concordat of Free Worlds. The document was simple but revolutionary. Each world would have an equal vote. Technology would be shared based on ethical guidelines rather than political power, and no species would dominate another. As the delegates celebrated, Jason received a message from Earth. More Council species were reaching out, asking if they too could join this new alliance. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, once dismissed as too young and too reckless, was leading the way. The Great Council Chamber, once filled with representatives from over 100 species, now stood half empty. The remaining members argued loudly among themselves. "We must take decisive action against Earth," shouted the Zordak's delegate, pounding his scaled fist on the table. "With what fleet?" asked another representative. "Half our ships don't work properly without human engineers." Zlukthar watched the chaos with tired eyes. In just a few months, the mighty Galactic Council had begun to fall apart. 4 more species had announced their departure that morning. All were seeking to join the new human-led alliance. "Perhaps we should consider negotiating with Earth," suggested a voice of reason. "Find a compromise." "Never." Crete, the Council's security chief, stepped forward. His metal exoskeleton clicked as he moved. "I have a plan to bring humans back under control." All eyes turned to him. "We know humans maintain important research databases on their moon Europa. If we seize those databases, we can understand their technology and no longer need their assistance." Murmurs filled the room. It was a desperate plan, but some were desperate enough to support it. Zlukthar raised a hand. "You believe you can succeed where others have failed. Humans have repelled every attempt to pressure them. This will be different," Crete promised. "A small, elite team. In and out before they know we're there." 2 days later, Crete's special forces approached Europa in stealth ships. They were the best the Council had, veteran soldiers with advanced equipment. "No signs of detection," reported the team leader. "Their defenses seem minimal." Crete watched from the command ship. "Proceed with the landing." The strike team touched down on Europa's icy surface near a human research station. They moved quickly toward the facility, their weapons ready. "This is too easy," one soldier said. He was right. Sudden lights blazed from the ice around them. Defense turrets rose from hidden compartments. A voice boomed across the landscape. "Council forces, you are trespassing on sovereign human territory. Drop your weapons." Crete watched in horror as his elite team was surrounded in seconds. Not a shot was fired. Their weapons simply stopped working, disabled by some unseen technology. Within minutes, the entire strike force was captured, and Crete's command ship was locked in a tractor beam. On Earth, General William Foster received news of the failed Council operation. "They never learn," he said, shaking his head. "Should we make an example of them?" Admiral Pierce considered the question. "No. Let's send them back with a message." Within the Council chamber, the news of Crete's humiliating defeat spread quickly. The security chief himself had been captured, then released with a warning. Any further military action against human worlds would be met with appropriate response. "What does appropriate response mean?" asked a nervous representative. No one wanted to find out. As the Council continued to fracture, strange reports began coming in from across Council space. Humans who had seemed like ordinary citizens for years were suddenly revealed to be part of an extensive intelligence network. Important systems failed. Secret Council records became public. It was as if humans had been everywhere, watching and waiting. "They had sleeper agents throughout our territory," one security officer reported. "For decades." Zlukthar could take no more. He stood before the council and removed his ceremonial robes. "I resign as chairperson," he announced. "I failed to see the true nature of humanity. I failed to treat them with the respect they deserved. And now we all pay the price." No one moved to stop him as he walked out of the chamber. On Earth, General William Foster activated the final phase of Operation Silent Shield. Across council space, human agents received their signals. Some revealed themselves openly. Others continued to work in secret. All had the same mission: hasten the council's collapse while protecting innocent civilians of all species. "Is this revenge?" a junior officer asked Foster. The general shook his head. "No, this is necessity." The council system was corrupt and holding back progress for everyone. Sometimes old structures need to fall before better ones can be built. In the Concordat headquarters on Proxima B, membership applications poured in from worlds seeking to join the new alliance. Some were former council members. Others were species that had never been considered worthy of council attention. Humanity had walked out. But in doing so, they had opened the door for others to walk in, to join them in building something new. And the old council could only watch as its power slipped away. The massive hangar doors slid open to reveal what Earth had been building in secret. The gathered crowd of world leaders gasped as they saw the ships of Project Dawn for the first time. Sleek vessels with smooth hulls that seemed to glow from within. No visible engines, yet they hummed with power. They looked nothing like the boxy, practical ships humans had used while under council restrictions. "This is what we can achieve when free to innovate," Admiral Patricia Reynolds said to the assembled leaders. She stood tall and proud on the speaking platform. 100 next-generation ships, with more being built every day. The United Earth Congress had gathered in this secret facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Here, far from prying eyes, humanity would decide its future path. Each ship can travel to any point in the galaxy in less than a week, Patricia continued. Their defensive systems can neutralize any known weapon. Their sensors can detect ships in light speed. President Olivia Harrison joined her at the podium. "The question before us today is simple but profound. What do we do with this power?" A silence fell over the massive chamber. For decades, humans had been treated as newcomers, barely tolerated by the ancient council. Now the balance had shifted. Earth could lead, isolate itself, or even dominate if it chose to. "We have 3 options," Patricia explained. She touched a control, and a holographic display appeared above the crowd. "First, we can establish a human-led galactic order, replacing the council system entirely." Images showed human ships positioned at key points throughout the galaxy, human administrators overseeing trade routes and diplomatic hubs. Second, we can focus on building our Concordat of free worlds, letting the council fade away naturally. The display changed to show the growing alliance of Earth and non-council worlds, with clear borders separating them from council space. Third, we can withdraw completely, use our technology to hide our worlds from detection, and live in peaceful isolation. The final image showed Earth and its colonies surrounded by some kind of energy field, hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Before the debate could begin, alarms suddenly blared. Security personnel rushed into the chamber. "Madam President," the security chief said urgently, "we've detected council assassins targeting key human leaders. Teams have been sent to locations around the globe." Shock rippled through the crowd. Even now, the council was trying to weaken humanity through violence. On a quiet street in New Chicago, 3 figures in stealth suits approached the home of Dr. Alan Wilson, the scientist behind many of humanity's greatest breakthroughs. They moved silently, their weapons ready. As they reached the front door, shadows detached from nearby buildings. Lieutenant Christopher Woods and his special operations team had been waiting. "Don't move," Chris ordered, his voice quiet but firm. The council assassins spun around, raising their weapons. Before they could fire, their suits locked up, freezing them in place. "Neutralizing field," Chris explained to his confused prisoners. Your weapons and tech respond to our commands now. Similar scenes played out around Earth as Council kill teams were captured one by one. Not a single human target was harmed. Under questioning, the captured assassins revealed something shocking. The order had come directly from the Ancient Seven, the oldest Council species who usually stayed hidden behind the scenes. They've been manipulating the Council for centuries, reported the intelligence officer to President Harrison, and they've been suppressing human advancement since we were discovered. The officer displayed recovered files showing how the Ancient Seven had deliberately blocked human membership applications, sabotaged human diplomatic efforts, and even authorized covert operations to slow Earth's technological progress. They saw our potential from the beginning, the officer said. They recognized what humans could become, and they were afraid. The revelation swept through Earth like wildfire. People who had been divided on how to respond to the Council were suddenly united. The Ancient Seven had not just disrespected humanity. They had actively worked to keep humans down, to prevent them from reaching their full potential. In orbit around Mars, Admiral Patricia Reynolds watched as more ships joined the Project Dawn fleet. The ships arranged themselves in formation, a display of power and precision that the galaxy had never seen. "Your orders, Admiral?" her second-in-command asked. Patricia looked at the message from Earth. The Congress had voted. The decision was made. "Prepare all ships," she said. "It's time to show the galaxy who we really are."